Good morning, good morning. How are we all? It's the time of the flies, isn't it? As the weather gets warmer. I have to get the executioner. We have the executioner. It's pretty effective, though I've noticed that the flies already this year are pretty robust. You hit them once and they bounce back like Arnie Schwarzenegger. Good morning, everyone. Morning, Lynn Sheard, Sally O'Sullivan, Gabrielle, Clodagh Egan, April Hill, Jenny Scam, hope you had a good birthday. Sonia Donovan, sorry I've said that. Who else have we got here? Hilary Cannon, Alison Fisher, Selena Lou Fogg. I hope you're all well. It's an early one because we can't fit it in later this morning and we can't fit in a 1 o'clock later today. So I thought, crikey, let's get something out so that you don't think that we were meaning it when we said yesterday we're going to scrap coffee moaning, because we're not. How are you all? Selena Lou Fogg, I'm feeling increasingly better. Thank you, Gabrielle. You will see from How to Stay Married, it's been a funny old time. Yet again. But as Storny, I think, said to me, she senses that it may not be as good, it may not be good when it comes, but it's perhaps coming less frequently. That's the hope. That's all you can do, is incremental steps. I've got a big day today, got a huge appointment later, which you will be finding out about at a later date. Faith Goodman, hello Mark, Nadia, Nanny Di, Teddy, Betty, Toffee, Chichi, hello to you, Faith. I hate it when my head comes up on the screen, it's so annoying. Nikki Ashfield, thank you, glad you're feeling better. So it's a bit of an early one today. And I just thought, did anyone see the Prince William thing yesterday? Did anyone see Prince William in Jamaica? I think there was an appetite, wasn't there, for a direct apology. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on this, because I think, are we in a bit of a situation where, absolutely right, an apology needs to be made, sorrow needs to be expressed, which he did, he expressed sorrow, but there's quite a large contingent of people in Jamaica and around the rest of the world who feel he could have been more acute in his apology. Clodagh Egan, quick visit, no worries. We'll be in. Oh, okay, kiddies will be in soon. Alison Fisher, no. HW, no. Sorry, I forgot. What question did I ask? Should he have apologised more? Is that what I asked? Did he apologise enough? I think the head of Jamaica was incredibly sort of, diplomatic about saying that Jamaica is going to move on in its own direction in a sort of autonomous state. I think there was an acknowledgement that, reading between the lines, Jamaica was saying, sling your hook, we've had enough of you royals. We didn't get a chance to really discuss it. Royal trips, why do they take on such an importance, royal trips? I always remember when they came on the news when I was a boy, I'd get really bored of a royal trip. What do you think, guys? They were made good in The Crown. Sorry, what was that? Sandra Lupson, hi Mark. I was really moved by yours and Nadia's How to Stay Married. I have MS with lots of pain, and it made me realise how hard it must be for my husband to see me struggle every day. Absolutely. It's the witnessing of someone else. The witnessing of one you love's distress is difficult, really difficult. Do you think it's a little bit a case of, oh yeah, did anyone see Prince William yesterday? That's what you asked. Thank you very much, HW. My brain was frazzled for a minute there. So Prince William, they're on a royal trip. They've been to Belize, or they're going to Belize. I think they've been to Belize. They're in Jamaica, and Prince William gave a speech at a dinner where he said, I strongly agree with my father, who said in Barbados last year, that the appalling atrocity of slavery forever stains our history. I want to express my profound sorrow. Slavery was abhorrent and it should never have happened. While the pain runs deep, Jamaica continues to forge its future with determination, courage and fortitude. Some people, interested to know what you think of this, Reece, some people are saying that's kind of more than just saying sorry. I mean, the difficulty with the word sorry is it can be a pretty useless word in the face of something so spectacularly huge. So I wonder whether behind the scenes, Prince William and their team will have talked about using the sorry word and thought perhaps it was a bit trite, or maybe, I don't know what you think, Reece, whether a bit inappropriate or kind of not big enough to kind of capture their possibly and probably their true sense of how awful their own white privileged royal heritage was. Empty words, says Tracy Lynham. So I wonder whether by saying sorrow and acknowledging that the country's moving on is in some respects a much bigger step or profound step within the context of royalty. Well, I guess that's just something I wonder. What do you think, guys? Just to give some context, Raz Ia V of the Rastafari, I think I pronounce it, Nyabingi community, said, "We are here to protest against any British monarchy descendant coming to Jamaica without being prepared to apologise for slavery and colonialism. We can only forgive people who acknowledge what they did was wrong and are willing to repair the breach of the wrongs they've committed." So by the standard there of this Rastafari community in Jamaica, does anyone think William achieved that? Or do you think the sorry word should have been said? Or does the word sorrow and an acknowledgement perhaps of Jamaica's inevitable and imminent departure from the Commonwealth? Reece, it's about time, and I applaud the Jamaican Prime Minister standing firm and dignified in his response. Incredibly, I thought so. Reece, having a Jamaican background, I know Jamaicans have felt very angry not having their independence, and sadly, if not for all the racial unrest, they wouldn't have been able to bring it to the table. There you go. See? I suppose in a sense, it's... Are you pleased, Reece, that obviously that Jamaica is reclaiming its independence and sovereignty, if you like? But what do you think of the way in which Prince William dealt with it? Or is it just kind of get on with it and sling your hook? Which I'd understand. Crikey, that's a bitter one. That's a bitter pill. What do you think? I sometimes think, and do you think sorry could have been used? Ellie Groves, does it not make a more definitive line of division, us and them? I felt the speech was less of us as United Nations, but really, oh, you must be talking about something else. Are you talking about something else, Ellie Groves? Faith Goodman, I think Windrush disaster made UK look very bad in the 21st century. Such recent history to the Jamaicans. Entirely agree. I do worry. I do sometimes just think that the word sorry is like, well, you need to apologise. Well, it's pointless saying you need to apologise if the apology isn't meant. And I just wonder whether it's, and there's the other argument that regardless of whatever they said, it was potentially could be criticised. The problem with things in life is this. Everything often has more than one option, or there's often more than one choice in whatever it is you do. And there's always the capacity to say you could have done this or you could have done that. Often two choices, more often 3, 4 or 5 choices. So it's very easy, but sometimes it's appropriate, obviously. It's very easy to say you should have done this because someone at some point has to decide to do one of the choices. So there's always going to be another choice that someone can home in on and say you should have done this. But in this matter, I don't know. I sort of read the story and I thought Jamaica has its integrity. Jamaica has its mission in hand. It knows what it's doing. I thought they dealt with the royal household with respect. And I thought as best as they could, Prince William acknowledged the terrible, terrible legacy of the royalty and British colonialism. So yeah, I think that was kind of dealt with. So was it? Someone says here, turquoise turtle. I felt it was a bad time for William and Kate to go out there. If they wanted a holiday, they should have gone undercover. I don't think these trips are holidays, though, are they? If you look at The Crown, the series, and you get a sense of these trips, they are pretty exhausting social sort of commitments, and they're often with a sort of light political, global kind of intent. Reece, I think the sorry was half-hearted in my opinion, but I think that the best response he would give as faced with his royal background stands, the embarrassment prevents true accountability. I think you're absolutely spot on. I sense in William, and correct me if I'm wrong, I sense that he's almost defined by his embarrassment around even the concept of a monarchy. I feel that he's ill at ease with the you and us and the them and us type thing, if I'm honest. I mean, I think his father is a bit too. But do you know what I mean? I think he's of a younger generation. He's gone through so much, re his mum. He's seen the world through a spectacularly odd lens. Ellie Groves, I think he is I think Reese is also acknowledging he is in an odd situation where any apology or any acknowledgement can only come awkwardly. But if I'm being really favourable to William, I think he's defined by a sort of discomfort with what the royal family are, if I'm honest. That's what I think. I see it in him. I see it in him. I am. Hi, Jacqueline Frost. Hope you're well. Ellie Groves, I think, I'm in a really tricky position. Shivy, sun blasting through my curtains, I had to get up. Bic Shanlau, if Putin was like you, like a piece of cake. Unearned privilege is just wrong regardless. Yeah, but I suppose the issue for William is he's had no choice. He's literally had no choice, has he? And he can't go against an institution that's there for so many other reasons. Structurally, traditionally, touristly, all that kind of stuff. I think he gets that from his mum, Sir Sarah Fox. Yeah, I kind of agree. So I think really important. I think important times for Jamaica, and it'll be interesting to see how and if William will be sort of battered with the way in which he went about it. De Velf de Grau, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. We in Germany had some, though, discussions with the African states which were colonies of the Kaiser in the last years, and they have all the rights to criticise us. Absolutely. I mean, many other countries in Europe carved up Africa and pillaged it, really, to be fair. It's only me. I think if they wanted to keep the Commonwealth, they should have let Harry and Meghan stay, half in the monarchy. Harry has done lots across the Commonwealth for years and could have been helpful. Yeah, I suppose sometimes you think it could be a power for good if you had the two brothers sort of skipping hand in hand, sort of, charging at the world. So that's Prince William. Prince William last night. Thank you for your contributions, Reese, being of Jamaican heritage. Is anyone else? There was all this talk on the radio this morning about, there's the 5p cut in the petrol price. And it's happened around here, and I'm sure it's happened to a vast amount of people around the country. It's very much a sort of budget for motorists, really. And, what about people getting buses? And one of the things that really gets my goat is that I noticed the day before the budget, all of the prices at the pumps were pushed up or walked up by about 5 pence in and around London. Quite remarkable. I'm heading out of London again, and the prices on the motorways are something like 198 or something like that. And when someone went in to ask, there was a person on the radio remonstrating with the person at the petrol pump, I think it was Esso. The Esso worker was laughing, saying, oh yeah, it went up yesterday. So the 5p came off and the 5p went straight back on. So there's no net change. So whilst the government has changed the duty that they take on it, I thought there's going to be some onus put on the fuel companies to stay at where they were with the prices, but they haven't. They just haven't. Gabrielle, even if you don't use your car, that's still too expensive. And also, don't forget, even if you don't use your car, there are many other forms of public transport. Though most of them are hybrid and a lot of them are electric. Not all of them are. It does have a knock-on effect there too. The 5p cut is not much help, says Becky Fithian. Absolutely not. So apparently, Sarah Fox, the reduction might only happen when a garage gets in its next load of fuel too. Interesting point. So maybe they're just trying to clear out stock. Yeah, perhaps. Don't know about that. I'd like to think so, though. Absolutely. Ukraine, can I ask, have you all the Ukraine crisis, it's weird to think that it's still going on, and it sort of is just gradually just moving down the news flow, isn't it? It really is moving down the news flow. Is it as at the front of your mind as it was, or are you trying to ignore it? Tra-la-la, good morning. I hope you have a lovely walk, tra-la-la. Selena Lou Fogg, I use buses and I can see prices hiking up, absolutely. I remember my granddad when I was young, just going back to before Ukraine chat, I remember my granddad used to drive for miles to knock 1p off his, I guess then it was a gallon of petrol or whatever it was. The irony was that he was using so much petrol to find the one petrol station that was 1p cheaper. It even struck me at that young age of 6 that this seemed mad. Ellen, that's an interesting point. Feel guilty for trying to avoid it. It's the helplessness, isn't it? It's the helplessness. And yeah, obviously you can all help in some capacity, but not sort of directly. Yeah, Faith agrees with you, Ellen. Lydia Smith, still thinking about Ukraine all the time. Definitely at the forefront of my mind, even if I try to avoid the news. Well, it's kind of in a swirling state of similarity, and I've got this horrible feeling that we're going to hear lots more rhetoric from the West. I think Boris is wanting to attack Putin's gold reserves, and every time I hear what they want to do next, I think, yes, we need to do this, and then I think, oh God, what's Putin going to do in return? There's all sorts of stories swirling around. I think we've got to a point now with the news coverage where news outlets can say anything and no one's going to fact check it, because you've got this really sort of dodgy, sort of misty, murky wall of secrecy around the Kremlin. I've noticed it's really easy for lots of publications to say, insider at the Kremlin says poison plot is likely. How the fuck do you know that? Has he got on the blower to you and actually told you that? I don't think so. I think there's so much hearsay. The validity of reporting has become so compromised, I think. And as we've said before, there is propaganda. Whilst of course there's propaganda going on in Russia, it's important to recognize that the propaganda that's happening from Ukraine is also going to be about, ensuring that Ukrainians feel full of hope and potential. I mean, it's clear who's the aggressor and who isn't. But propaganda works in two ways. One, it can be to mislead and sort of almost hypnotize a population into thinking wrong things. And on the other, it can be used to mobilize, inspire, and and engage a population into thinking that they're doing well. But I think within that, it gives news agencies and media companies carte blanche just to kind of say what the fuck they want. They can come up with any old shit. Putin keeps salamis in his freezer. I mean, someone could put that headline out today, says insider. What? They can also do, they could take their pick of every single person around the incredibly long table that Putin sits at and suggest and do a hypothetical news story on, if he replaced Putin, he'd be even more evil than Putin himself. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think, in a way, although we're probably all feeling guilty that one's turning away from the news, it's very hard to get clarity on what is actually happening. But it looks like Russian troops are allegedly, according to the Times, being encircled near Kiev. So it really isn't going in Russia's favour. But again, to what extent is that true? I personally think that there's a stalemate that's developed, and unfortunately, unless Putin and Zelensky crack an absolutely astonishing deal, we're going to see a war of attrition. I just think everyone's going to dig in, boots in, sort themselves, and stay where they are. Yeah, the drone footage of Mariupol was absolutely shocking. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, Brenda M, when you saw the shots of a flattened city. Dixon Summit, I'm actually more despondent about it today than before. Not sure why. Everything feels a bit bleak at the moment. Well, you're right, because I think everyone's kind of sort of gone back on their haunches, settled back down on their haunches, haven't they? And sort of said, is this the new normal? And is this the new normal? And if this is the new normal, I mean, there does come a point where you think, will Russia be allowed into the real world again? And if not, won't that aggravate them even more? I mean, do we not have to say to them, do this and you can get this back? Who thinks that? Who thinks we have to say, do this and you can get all this back? Or is it a case of, even if they pull out of Ukraine, they can't have anything back? It's like a parenting dilemma, isn't it? You've been a naughty boy. If you behave yourself, you can have your toys back. But if you don't behave yourself, you obviously won't get your toys back. Or if you do behave yourself, no, I'm sorry, you've gone too far. You're not having your toys back anyway. What should we do? Happy birthday, Jessica. Jessica. Whose birthday is it? Jessica. I can't see you, Jessica. Someone's saying happy birthday, Jessica, but there's no Jessica in the feed. Well, happy birthday, Jessica, wherever you are. Reese, as the news is very ratings dependent and agenda driven, Ukrainian coverage brings in big business, but being thrown in your face daily and seeing the inequity for minorities, similar issues, none. Entirely agree. Entirely agree. Tracy Lynham, I agree, Mark, because unfortunately we need things from them too, and Putin knows it. Putin is a persona. Yeah. It's a tricky decision, isn't it, Sarah Fox? It really is. What do you do? Pull out, you can have everything back. Pull out and you can have a little bit back. Or pull out and you have nothing back. If you say pull out and you have nothing back, then there's where's the impetus to pull out? If you say pull out, regardless of if you pull out, you get nothing, and also we're going to keep sending arms to Ukraine, and the Russians get bogged down even more. What happens then? There's some chap yesterday said, if we feel there's an existential assault on Russia's very existence, i.e., if the West just is dead set on Russia not existing, that's a possibility for nuclear consideration. Now, don't agree with Putin, don't agree with the war, don't agree with the regime. I think there's a point for Russian people who are also innocent bystanders in this. I think the West has to ask the question, what is the end game for the West, suggesting that Ukraine sorts itself out? Where do we want to be in respect to Russia after this, to ensure that Russia isn't just stays a very, very naughty boy? Happy birthday, Jessica. Oh, yeah. That's so good. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I don't know. All right, Leo. See you later, my darling. Caroline Faulkner, are there any good diplomats anymore like the old days? Not entirely sure, to be honest, not entirely sure. Okay, kind of sticking with Ukraine in a way. Sorry, guys, I know it's pretty depressing. I mean, look, for example, here's a story in The Sun. Chance of tyrant Putin being deposed in coup grows every week amid botched Ukraine invasion, whistleblower claims. The fact that the whistleblower was a chap called Igor in J.D. Wetherspoons in Bromley doesn't matter. But it's put in quotes, and he calls himself a whistleblower. Do you know what I mean? A source within Russia's security service, apparently, says who? Come on, give us what? Tells us that the chance of Putin being deposed grows every week. Well, yeah, and it also probably doesn't grow every week. There could be a snap election coming, Brenda M. Certainly the Tories are... good question. I didn't want to get bogged down in British politics too much. But yeah, I think there is an election on the way, which I find curious because unless they're privy to polls, the Tories, I wouldn't have thought they'd do too well. So yeah, there's a chance, according to Igor at the Wetherspoons in Bromley, there's the possibility that there could be a coup. But that possibility may diminish based upon how many pints Igor can sink in an afternoon. Now, I like this. Ukraine meets Hollywood. Amy Schumer wants Zelensky to be part of the Oscars. Whoa, what about that? What do you think of that? What do you think if they had a great big screen? Imagine Zelensky presenting Best Picture award. Of course, the reason for this, it's the Oscars this Sunday evening. Nadia says I'm not allowed to watch it. Jesus. It's only me, there's always an overlap from a new topic to an old. It's only me, I sometimes think these stories are just to make Putin even more paranoid and isolated, which you don't really want to do you? Yeah, Igor the Unreliable. He's always propping up the bar. He has a Jack Daniels and Coke at about 4. Hi, Sarah Parsons, hope you're well. What do you think about that? What do you think about Zelensky being allowed at the Oscars? So Amy Schumer was talking on the Drew Barrymore show, and she said that she'd like President Volodymyr Zelensky to be part of the show. She thinks it would be a really impactful way of getting his message and the message of Ukraine to a different type of viewer, a different type of audience. I mean, you know, Hollywood lovies are renowned, aren't they, for picking up, and I don't think it's, they always get criticised for it, I don't think it's a bad thing, for picking up sort of social issues, global issues, and sort of, pushing them on, thinking of things like hashtag Me Too, Black Lives Matter, I know people go, oh, it's the kind of, it's the posh kind of Hollywood glitterati. But, at least they're talking about that rather than anything else. I think Zelensky would be rather occupied, no pun intended, to be doing that. That's the question. When I saw this story, it's all well and good the West and Hollywood stars wanting him to be there. But I was thinking, imagine how he would factor this into his schedule, given everything he's going through. If he's got time to do a live, surely it's got to be to the head of an international, another country or an international agency like the UN or NATO or something like that. But imagine if all of his kind of buddies who are sort of protecting him from assassination and everything like that suddenly see that he's on a WhatsApp call with Amy Schumer and he's announcing that, I don't know, Leonardo DiCaprio's won an Oscar. Exactly, who said that? At least it's on their agenda, says Sarah Fox. Absolutely. So Amy Schumer. So I'm wondering, it's going to be interesting. It is the Oscars. What do you feel about the Oscars? Are the Oscars relevant anymore? This year they're looking at, it's going to be the first in-person Oscar ceremony since, obviously, COVID began. Gemma Hardy, we need your Oscars live. Tell Nads. Sophie J. Matilda, it seems to me that Schumer is underestimating how busy he will be. Absolutely, yeah. And also he's having to sort of scramble his location. So, if Russia saw where he was based upon his contribution to an Oscar ceremony, I think he wouldn't go down too well, would it? Reese, also regarding social issues, there are people in Hollywood that reflect those backgrounds, like Regina King, who at last year's Oscars mentioned in regards to BLM said no privilege could stop police. You're absolutely right. It's Only Me. He did a live chat with, I can never pronounce her name, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher. Granted, they did raise millions, and Mila Kunis is Ukrainian. Oh, I didn't realise that, right. Not many people. So they're trying to kind of zap up the kind of awards. They used to be, back in its heyday, there were 40 million watching. I think now it's only something like, I don't know, it's not a lot at all. It's like about 4 million or 7 million or something like that. But yeah, I guess Ukraine is going to be at the forefront. They're trying to create a sort of more populist category so that people vote for it. Because I think there's a feeling that if No Time to Die was a big box office hit, if Spider-Man No Way Home was a big super hit, why is it a film like The Power of the Dog that, whether you liked it or not, hasn't been seen, or we don't know how many it's been seen by? Do you know what I mean? Or is the Oscars about, or should the Oscars be about opening our eyes to films that perhaps we have missed, like The Year of Parasite, which most people would have thought, Korean subtitled film, no thanks. Lots of people saw it and they liked it. Maybe it's an opportunity to draw the mainstream towards the not so mainstream. Anyway, so they've allowed young people to get on board and vote for their favourite films. But they've allowed people to vote 20 times a day for 2 weeks. And it's left the category able to be sort of manipulated by super fans. And at one point, apparently, Camila Cabello's Cinderella, which by all accounts is an absolute turkey of a movie, was also in contention for the popular Oscar award. So I think that, a bit of snobbery, is a bit of snobbery part of the Oscars? I think it might be. So they can seem frivolous, but maybe not. Thank you very much, Caroline Faulkner. Thank you. Sarah Fox, I love seeing who and which films have won after the awards, but hate watching the ceremony. The ceremony is fucking boring, isn't it? I mean, I love film, but it goes on for fucking hours. Excuse my language. And finally, a little headline just to leave you all kind of thinking, well, I better not eat one of them again. Eating kebabs and boozing can trigger dementia decades later. I don't know why, that doesn't surprise me. Eating kebabs and boozing can trigger dementia. A study has found that blood, fats and sugars from bad diets can cause brain damage in your 30s. What we have to remember is things with the brain struggles with plaque, like the blood and veins and arteries struggle with plaque, like our teeth struggle with plaque. Plaque is the thing. So if you imagine that you're clogging up all parts of your body, that clog or clogging will reach into your head. It's a little bit like the fatbergs that you get in the sewers. but just imagine them in your head. High triglycerides, heavy drinking, and lazy lifestyles could be damaging from the age of as young as 35. And high blood sugars were dangerous from the age of 50. Sarah Fox, only eaten one kebab in my life, so hopefully I'll be okay. I used to eat a lot of kebabs. Let's get reminiscent about kebabs. It's very much a student thing for me. Very much a student thing for me. My mother-in-law has dementia, and I don't think she has ever eaten a kebab deal. Thurston, no, of course, no one for a minute is suggesting that that's the only cause of dementia. Far from it. But yeah, I used to like the really awful one that they cut the bits off rather than the chunks of chicken. They're apparently worse for you than the chunks of chicken, so Nadia says. But I always remember a rum bar bar. Does anyone else remember the rum bar bar? Marks and Spencer's used to sell rum bar bars. I think, again, when I look back, it was part of my slippery slope from the age of 6, courtesy of my nan, towards alcoholism. Rum bar bar. It wasn't real rum, but there was something about that flavour. So there you go. Now I want a kebab. So guys, have a lovely day. Stay safe. How to Stay Married is up if you fancy a deep delve into mental health issues for a couple. There's the Girls Go Mad in Brighton vlog. Another one of those will be landing shortly. And I know I keep saying it, and there are green-fingered hells on their way. Due to the slight bump in the road, things have been delayed somewhat. Have a lovely day, guys, and stay safe and enjoy the